to Edits and Artifacts. Today I'm going to show you guys a really fun tutorial. I'm going to show you how to add a really cool bokeh effect to your photographs. This one's really fun to do, like if you want to do an abstract portrait, or if you do abstract photography to begin with, or fine art photography. So I'm going to go ahead and show you guys that. This is me, if you're wondering, so I'm going to work on a selfie today. Alright, so the first thing we are going to want to do, like always, is make a copy of your background layer. And this tutorial, this project takes a lot of layers, a lot. So just be prepared. Okay, so the first thing we're going to want to do is actually, we are going to go make a, we're going to go down to the shape tool, and we're going to click ellipse tool, and we are going to make a circle about that size. It's up to you, it doesn't matter how big it is, but you kind of want to do different range of sizes. And as you're doing this, notice that this automatically makes several layers for you. And this depends on how many bokeh circles you actually want. I think I'm gonna go a little crazy today and do a little more than normal. Okay, so once you have the amount of circles that you want in your photograph, the next step is to go back through each of these shapes and change it to a color and a fill. And then, of course, whatever shape you click on the layers, you'll be able to see which one it is over on the screen. There's just this fine, you can see this fine line right here lets you know that's the one that's selected. So I'm going to go up here, and I'm just going to start colorizing these circles. And I want my stroke and fill to be the same, either the same color, or maybe have like a lighter shade around it or a darker shade around it, one of those two. Or you can do no stroke at all, so there's no outline to it. But I think I'm going to experiment today and do different color, a wide range of color, kind of like that. Well, maybe do purple. Yeah, I'll do purple. Okay, so you're gonna go through and do that to each of these. Like I said, you can choose to have no stroke, which is just gonna be the solid fill color, or you can decide to have a stroke and it's gonna give you two separate colors. So I'm gonna fast forward through this part of the tutorial and just go ahead and start changing the colors on each of these. And it can be any color you want. Just keep in mind, aesthetically, you want to think about what the colors will look like next to each other. And I would recommend having a few white circles throughout to kind of soften the other colors. Okay, so now that you got that part down, the next step is to actually have these blended a little bit. I mean, right now I guess it looks kind of cool, but it's not really something I want. So what I'm going to do is click this very first shape, and then I'm going to scroll, make sure this is highlighted, and then I'm going to scroll all the way to the top, click Shift, hold down Shift, and then click, and that's going to select all of those layers. And while these are selected, the next step you're going to want to do is go to The next step you're going to want to do is actually convert these to smart objects. And that's going to give you the option that you need to edit these as you would need to blend them. So we're going to go to Filter, Blur, and we are going to go to Radial Blur. And this is going to make them have this really cool, soft, like, zoom effect. You can do spin, and this shows you what it's going to do, or you can do zoom, and that's what it's going to do. And then you can change the amount. I'm going to do spin, and I'm going to have it up to 52, and click OK. And this might take a minute to load on my computer, but we'll see. Okay, so in this situation, this was too much. So I'm just going to click Command Z and undo that, or Control Z depending on if you have a Windows computer. And I'm going to go back and try this again, and this time I might do a lower spin effect. I'm going to do radial again, and I'm going to take the spin down to 22. And this is the type of thing where you kind of have to mess with it until it gets to where you want it to be. And still that's too much for my liking. So I'm going to actually try a different blur effect, and I'm just going to do Gaussian blur. And I actually kind of like that, but what I want to do now, since it's still a little too light for me, I want there to be more of an effect, I'm just going to make a copy of this layer so that there's more shapes. And then I'm going to enlarge them. And maybe turn them around a little bit. Just so that the consistency seems kind of random. And then for this one, I'm going to do so either I could keep it like this, which it looks kind of cool, and it might not be appropriate for the photograph that I chose, but you know, it's whatever. So at this point, you can keep it like that. You can change maybe the effect on that specific layer, and that looks kind of cool. I actually kind of like that. And then you can keep doing that until you actually decide that you like the amount of shapes that are there. Or what you can do is you can let's see, yeah. So I think I'm going to make one more copy of my shapes. So you got like this really cool like watercolor, kind of like watercolor blend going on in the background. And then I'm going to do another copy of this and put it on the other side of me, just to see what it might look like. I'm probably going to do a couple copies and just do downsize both of them. And like I said, this might not be the best photograph to actually have used as an example, but this still shows you how I do it. And this looks kind of crazy. It might be too much for your liking, and I kind of agree if that's the case for you. But you can always take the opacity down on those layers. Or you can take them up depending on what you want. But I mean, it's already at 100, you can't do much after that. But that's the basic idea. And there's other ways to do this too. Like I was showing you guys the radial blur and the spin blur. That's another way. But it's really fun to play with, especially when you get to experiment with different colors and stuff. And it's kind of like the filters that you get on those phone apps with the bokeh effects. And you can just like, you know, play around with it, make as many copies of the shapes as you want, put it across your face, whatever you really want to do with it. You know, it's up to you. That's the awesome part about Photoshop, is there's so many opportunities to experiment and try different things. That looks kind of cool, so I kind of like that. I might stick with that. This, I still feel like it's a little too bright for my liking. That's even more bright. Kind of like that. And then if there's specific areas, like see how I have like these random spots, but I like it down here, you can always erase the shapes too. So that your face isn't really disrupted by it. There you have it. Now, there are lots of other things you could do too with this to make it look more fine art sort of stuff. Like one of the things that I do sometimes is I take the rectangle tool and I'll draw a rectangle here, and then I'll draw another one. And then I will make like an X with them. And you know, I mean, this is just fun stuff to experiment with. Completely up to you and what your style is, but if you just want to have fun with the photographs, go for it. And then you just want to do the same thing, like you want to do a fill to both shapes. If it lets me. Okay. Oop, where'd I go? Oh, okay, good. Okay, so then you're gonna do the same thing again, and you're gonna do filter, and let's do a different blur. Filter blur. Let's see I wonder what shape blur would do to this. Okay, that's not loading, so let's do filter and blur. Let's try zoom. Okay, so that's kind of cool, except I would want it to be softer than that, so I'm just gonna do it again. Or you can try the motion blur, that looks pretty cool. There we go. I like that, that's sweet. So I'm gonna do that to that one, and then the same thing to the orange one. just experiment with the layer effects again. And I might actually, I think I'm going to delete that and then just make this square bigger. So there you have it. It's like a fun experimental photograph. So I'll show you what it looked like before. What you can do to make this easier is just merge down, or you can shift click and click merge layers. And that's what it looks like before, and now you have a cool bokeh effect. Like I said, I don't think I really picked the best photograph for this, but you know, whatever, you get the idea. This is probably something you'd want to do more on like an experimental photograph, or you could just lighten it and have just a little bit of an effect, not a whole lot, like that. That looks cool. So that's on screen 44%. So there you have it, and that's a really cool bokeh experimental effect you can put on your photograph. Thanks, guys.